The terrible thing that happened at our house to my mother, who has always been a real mother. My mother used to be a real mother. In the mornings, when my brother and I left for school, she'd kiss us and wave goodbye. Have a nice day, darling. Be good, honey, she'd say as we went out the door. When we came home for lunch, we'd have a toasted cheese sandwiches or tuna on a bun, then chocolate pudding or a cupcake for dessert with sprinkles. After school, she'd listen to us tell about who got punched in the stomach or what happened to Abby on the stairs or how the teacher yelled when I dropped my box of colored markers all over the floor. Then she'd pour us a glass of milk and give us a snack. Afterwards, we'd go outside or have friends come over and play at our house. My mother always had time to read to us and help us make things and take us to the park. But then something terrible happened to change all that. My mother went back to being a science teacher. She said it was important work. I always thought taking care of us was pretty important, but she said we could do a lot more for ourselves than we did. That's when everything began to be different. In the mornings, we had to rush around making our own beds and clearing the table because my mother was busy getting ready to leave too. We even had to find our own underwear and socks. We had to eat lunch in school because there was no one at home at lunchtime anymore. I hate eating lunch at school. The lunchroom smells like fish or frankfurters, and all that yelling gave me a headache. After school, instead of listening to us the way she used to, my mother would say, I need a few minutes to clear my head, kids. I had a really tough day. And once, when I told her how the teacher kept me in at recess because I sharpened my pencil 3 times during math, she said, You must have been annoying her, dear, instead of being on my side. My father used to be a real father, too. He'd come home from work and say, Hi, everybody, what's for dinner? Then he listened to my brother and me talk while he washed up and changed. He told us things about his office or what happened on the way to work. When we finished eating dinner, he'd clear the table while my brother and I did our homework or watched TV. And later, maybe he'd have time for a game. My father used to read us stories every night before we went to bed. And on Saturdays, he always took us to the garage with him. And we'd watch while he got gas for the car and had the oil changed or the spark plugs cleaned. But that's all different now, too. My father began coming home with packages from the supermarket. I'll get dinner tonight, he'd say. And then he'd tell us we're having frozen salmon croquettes or meatballs and wine sauce. I hate salmon croquettes and meatballs and wine sauce. They smell like what we have for lunch in school. Yuck! My brother and I had to clear the table after dinner while my father did the dishes with my mother. Sometimes he did them all by himself while she marked tests or planned tomorrow's lessons in the living room. And half the time he didn't read us stories because he was too busy helping fold the laundry. I tried reading to my brother, but he picked boring books and asked dumb questions. My mother had the car serviced at a place near her school, so we never got to go to the gas station with my father anymore. My parents said we were all much happier now. Then one night at dinner, when my brother kept talking and no one was really listening to him or even heard me when I asked for some more milk, I got mad. I got so mad, I started yelling. No one cares anymore in this house. No one listens. No one helps you. No one even passes the milk when you need it. Everyone stopped talking and looked at me. My mother said, Oh, you poor thing, and came and put her arms around me. My father said, What's bothering you, sweetheart? And my brother passed me the milk. I told him how I couldn't stand all this rushing around every morning, how I hated eating lunch at school, and how no one had time to hear what happened to me during the day, and how I was sick and tired of missing stories and talks and games and everything. My parents really listened this time, and then they said, Let's see what we can do. They decided that if we all got up a little bit earlier and my father left for work a little bit later, we could get out of in the morning without so much rushing. My mother asked Louisa, who lives next door, if we could eat lunch at home with her kids, and she said, sure, except on Fridays when she goes for her allergy shots. And Ellen, our babysitter, began to come for an hour after school. Now my mother has a little time to herself for clearing her head or reading the mail or doing a wash. Some afternoons we help to dust or just pick up. Then she feels more like making things with us or walking to the park. My brother and I said we could fold laundry so my father would have time to read us a story. The socks didn't always come out right, but we are getting better. We take turns choosing what we have for supper. Sometimes I go to the supermarket with my father, and my mother is teaching my brother and me how to make hamburgers, the plain kind. And after we clean up the kitchen and get our work done, most nights there's still time to play a game or talk together. Things aren't so terrible at our house anymore. I guess they're a real mother and father after all.